I'm Rendan, and this is Old.
No kids allowed on the beach? What?
That's not true!
Oh no! Oh no!
Night Shyamalan is a filmmaker who is quite polarizing. Many people love him, many people hate him. I fall somewhere in the middle. He has some movies I really like. Sixth Sense, wow. Unbreakable, amazing. But then you have movies over the past 2 decades or so that have fallen into some degree of terrible. And unfortunately, Old falls there as well. And that's the thing, is most of his new stuff is awful. There's like one movie I can think of off the top of my head that he's made recently that's been good, and that was Split, which I believe was a movie that he made from a script he wrote back when he was making good movies. Everything else he's made in the past 2 decades has been pretty much terrible. You look at Glass, ouch. You look at, how am I blanking on all of his movies? After Earth, gross. You look at Avatar: The Last Airbender, or just The Last Airbender, ew. Most of his stuff he's made recently is very bad, and I can't help but feel like that's because he's a bit full of himself. Now, I like M. Night Shyamalan as a guy. He seems like a really nice dude, but after Lady in the Water, it became very clear that he has a very high view of himself.
The Midwest of this land will grow up in a home where your book will be on the shelf and spoken of often.
Most of this movie is straight up awful, and that starts with the most fundamental part of any screenplay, the dialogue, which is quite possibly the worst of the year, in fact. Every line of dialogue is awful to some degree. Now, it ranges between laughably bad and just bad, depending on who is delivering it. There are some legitimately good performances here, and I say good because they don't have a lot of work to work with, but there are some good performances here, and when they're saying bad dialogue, they make it sound at least halfway decent.
Man, if I was involved, why would I be standing around, bro? Damn.
His nose is bleeding. I think he got that when she was trying to defend herself.
Then there are some atrocious performances, and when they say bad dialogue, it just comes off hilarious.
I don't like this dynamic at all.
Especially when it's small children who are talking like adults, talking about their mortgages and living next to each other, as if that would be something a 6-year-old is talking about. M. Nut, why would you write that? But there's plenty of other bad dialogue, and most of it is, unfortunately, just explaining things to the audience. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves in any movie. If you just have characters say exactly how they're feeling, or exactly what's going on, there's no room for subtlety, there's no room for me to get invested in the story, and that is the entirety of this movie. Every single character at one point or another says exactly who they are, exactly what they do, and exactly what kind of mental health or just illness they have.
There has to be a way out. It's a mathematical certainty there must be a way out.
Alma from Phantom Thread is in this. She passes out at one point, and she has a big tumor in her that they have to surgically remove or she's gonna die. And then she wakes up and says, "I'm fine." And then it literally hard cuts to something else. It was hilarious. But that's another thing we should talk about. This movie feels more like a series of shock value sequences than a movie. Most of it is set on this beach where people rapidly age. That's an interesting high concept premise. What will they do with that? Not much, except for have a couple of ideas that are meant to shock you, and then a bunch of boring talking where nothing much happens and the dialogue's terrible. And then another shocking scene, and then nothing much happens and the dialogue's terrible. And that's most of the movie. There's like 3 or 4 sequences that are meant solely to make an audience member go, "Ugh, ugh," and be shocking. Like when they rip a tumor out of somebody, it shows them cut into the person and pull this tumor out, which I don't think that's how it works, but I could be wrong. I guess if you slice into someone, you can just manually rip out a tumor. Okay? It doesn't feel like a movie, really. It's, again, just a series of sequences that could happen kind of interchangeably. There's a lady that gets pregnant, and then she has a baby. And you could have had that happen really at any moment, but it just kind of is plopped in the middle. You could have had many of these other moments just kind of happen whenever, and that's how it kind of comes across. When Alma gets the tumor, she just kind of falls over and says, "Yeah, I have a tumor, and it's gotten bigger now." And they mentioned it once that she has something in her, but they didn't say what it was. Turns out it's a tumor, and now all of a sudden it's affecting her literally at the drop of a hat, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and that's the thing they have to focus on solely. And it just feels like they don't have anything to do, so this character is hurting and we have to fix it. Didn't love that.
What happened to her?
Body has decomposed.
How quickly can that happen?
7 years.
Big cornerstones of movies are characters and story, and this movie doesn't really have either, to be honest. The story is very simple. People end up at a beach where they age very rapidly and they try to find a way off. That's simple, it's effective, and it works and is entertaining for the most part, but it's so simple that you need characters that you like or are interested in, and 99% of them are not interesting. There's a couple of moments between Alma and her husband that I liked, that were interesting, but most of them are boiled down to that one defining character trait that they tell the people about. I am a psychologist. Oh, I'm a doctor. Well, I'm a rapper. And that's literally all that they are. They're not growing in any way, even though they're getting progressively older. No one really matures outside of those main two characters, Alma and her husband. Even their kids who end up getting older and older and older, they don't feel like they've matured that much, and I wish that it kind of tackled more things in a mature way, where characters are getting older and they're reflecting on their past indiscretions or their lives as a whole, and there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of reflection on things. There's not a lot of, hey, that happened a long time ago now. And I know it was yesterday, but we've aged 20 years since yesterday, and now I'm reflecting on it. Let's talk about it. There's not much of that, and I kind of wish there was, because that would play around with the concept more. There's only 2 scenes I can think of that did that, and most of the things in this movie come across that way. It's just a mixed bag overall. The cinematography can be really striking at times, or it can be obnoxiously out of focus, or obnoxiously having characters on 2 corners of the screen and one at the bottom corner, and you can't see them or what they're saying or what they're doing. It's literally just like their foreheads. Why did you shoot it like that? Or a scene where people are running on the beach and it's shot like home movie footage for no reason. Why did you shoot it like that?
Trent!
Kara!
Come here!
Hey, have you seen my children?
Mom? I'm right here.
But that brings me to some things I liked. There are some things I liked, despite my thundercloud over it. I did like, again, the scene when Alma and her husband are reflecting to each other. I liked when the movie slows down like that and has character moments. That was good. And I did like how it is able to depict people's ailments as they get older. Like, one of the characters, the husband of Alma, starts to go blind, and the camera's all out of focus to convey that he's going blind. Or when Alma loses hearing in one of her ears, it's this great revolving shot as she's moving between conversations, and you only hear the specific one that is pointing to that ear. It was a great way to show that she's half deaf now. I liked moments like that, when it is more subtle, when it's more implied, when it isn't just, I'm blind. I liked when it kind of took things a little bit more slowly and kind of were subtle about it, which is another thing I liked. The old age makeup on all of the adults I thought was actually subtle and well done. They look older, very, very progressively. They add a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and it makes it look older, and I enjoyed that little touch. I mean, the kids you can't do that with. You just have to cast whole new actors, which they do, and I'm fine with. But the old age makeup I thought worked pretty well too. And the ending is annoying, I would say. The twist, the character defining trait of M. Night Shyamalan's having a twist, and the twist in this, I'm a little bit wishy-washy on, but I enjoyed the kind of upbeat, bittersweet ending it has. It was nice, and I enjoyed some foreshadowing and setups and payoffs in the script. I liked some of the structure of it, and again, I think the best aspects are some things that it sets up at the beginning and it pays off at the end. There's some smart storytelling in that way, but it is mostly people on a beach and shocking things happen to them, the movie. So in the end, it's not a movie I can recommend very highly for being entertaining or for being generally good, because it's not good. And it's only entertaining in an ironic way, at least to me. I watched this and I was bored for, I'd say 45% of it. And then another 20% of it, I was laughing hysterically. And then the remaining, 35% of it, I was perplexed at why he was making, M. Night Shyamalan was making the decisions he was making. And I was trying to understand why he was doing that. So, in that way, I enjoyed it, but as a movie as a whole, I'd give it a 3. It's pretty bad, despite having a couple of things I enjoyed. So, if you want to watch it, be my guest. There's some pretty fun moments, pretty funny sequences, but it's mostly terrible.